Welcome to On the Sofa with Monja and Anna. Now I had to perch myself up here just to show off my lovely Stuart black trousers, given the trousers feature this evening. When a customer requested that we did a feature on trousers, I wondered how on earth we were going to manage to fill a whole episode on this one item of clothing. But then Monja and I started discussing the detail, and we remembered just how much goes into making a pair of well-fitting tailored trousers and all the extra details you can have. So here we go. Tonight we're going to talk you through tartan trousers.
Hi, I'm Monja. In the shop, our most common measuring appointment is actually for tartan trousers. And I do enjoy seeing the different styles that everybody chooses and discussing the different style options that most people have never even considered before. I recently had my first pair of custom tartan trousers made and I absolutely love them. You can see me showing them off there in the shop. Hello to everyone watching already. We've got Thelma and Roger in Germany and the Haddington fan club as well. Hello to everyone. So GQ magazine says that in 2020, if you're looking to make a statement with your fit, don't do it with a slogan tee or lapel pin, you do it with your trousers. Baggy, cropped, carpenter, whatever your heart desires. We're living in the golden age of bottoms, everything is in play. So with Wiz Khalifa sworn off skinny jeans and boot cuts threatening to make a comeback, let's work out just what you need to think about if you're ordering your perfect pair of tartan trousers.
So the fit of your tartan trousers, do you want a classic fit or a slim fit? And we can do either for you, and that's one of the first things to choose. And the fit isn't just about the narrowness of the leg, it's also about the fit through the hip and the amount of extra cloth that's included, both right through and through the back of the trousers as well. So your classic fit trouser is typically more accommodating through the hip and has more cloth in the leg, whereas your slimmer fit is, of course, slimmer throughout. And at the moment is our most popular style and does really modernise a traditional tartan trouser. If you want comfort through the body, but you do have nice trim legs, then we can also, of course, mix and match the styles. You can have a classic fit through the hip and a slim leg, that's no problem. And your trousers are made to your measurements, so we can accommodate all these different individualities. We do recommend going no slimmer than a 14.5 or a 15-inch hem, just so you can still fit the feet through the bottom.
So the next thing to consider is the rise of your trousers. Below the waistband is the area called the rise, measured from the seam at the bottom of the crotch to the waistband. This is usually in the range of about 9 to 13 inches, depending on the size of the trousers and whether it's a low, mid, or high rise. For a while now, low rise trousers have been in fashion, meaning the trousers sit around your hip area, and we often see this in the younger gentlemen that come in for their trousers, usually for prom or something like that. Rise plays a significant role in determining the visual proportions of your body. So low rise trousers make your upper body look longer and your legs look shorter, as your trousers simply don't go up that high on your body. Therefore, a low rise can help balance out the appearance of men with longer legs. In contrast, high rise trousers sit on your true waist, similar to the muscle bra trousers on our mannequin there, and that's usually around your belly button. Because there's more fabric between the waist and the crotch, they visually elongate your legs, so high rise trousers are ideal for men with shorter legs. Like pleats, which we'll go into more detail later, a high rise is often ridiculed for their association with granddads wearing their trousers hiked up to right below the nipples. I think high-waisted trousers look best if you're wearing a suit jacket, blazer, or sport coat, especially if you're wearing it closed. In this situation, the high-rise are ideal because their height prevents the bottom of your tie or the lower part of your shirt from showing between the lower button of your jacket and the waistband of your trousers. Ideally, there should be a clean, uninterrupted transition from the jacket to the trousers, and the higher waist ensures this, just so your tartan flows nicely throughout your outfit. On the other hand, if you wear your jacket open, high-rise trousers risk making your chest look concave or sunken, and they also can shorten your torso. The solution, therefore, would be to go for a moderately high or a mid-rise pair of trousers, or just to keep your jacket closed. High-rise trousers create more of a classic or vintage look, and if you look back at the fashion between the 1920s to the 1950s, everyone wore this style with shorter neckties. So we would recommend that if you want to wear your trousers high-rise, then remember to opt for a slightly shorter tie, otherwise you might have to tuck it into your waistband or wear your tie longer than your waistband.
And after the rise, we then move on to cut of the leg. And you can choose this to be straight or tapered, wide or slim as you prefer. And we sell a lot more slim and skinny trousers at the moment, particularly for the younger generation. If you, for a really sharp tailored look, some tapering should occur so your legs get gradually narrower as they move towards the bottom. We can do this from either from the knee downwards or from the hip downwards, depending on your legs. So if you've got a larger thigh, we would maybe taper from the knee downwards, whereas if you've got nice slim thighs, then we can run the taper right from the top. And what you can do is if you do have larger thighs, let us know. We'll take some extra measurements as we go to make sure that we get them right for you. And we would measure, what we would suggest is if you've got a favourite pair of trousers and you really like the measurements of them, then measure the width of them at the hem, at the knee, and at the thigh, mid thigh, and pass them on to us, and that will ensure that we can make sure you've got a well-fitting pair of trousers. Do keep in mind, though, that these are wool trousers. So if you buy a pair of jeans on the high street, then they will have a bit of lycra, a bit of stretch in them. Whereas these are wool trousers, so they're not going to have as much give in them. And you do need to make sure your hem's not so narrow that you can't get the feet through and get them on.
So a style choice that you might want to consider for your trousers are turnups, or cuffs as they're sometimes called. So turnups are a very personal thing and not something we initially offered as an option for our tartan trousers. However, due to popular demand, we have introduced this style, and you can even choose the depth of your turnup from 1 to 2 inches. The more we thought about trousers, the more we realised that the fashion world has become a little bit lazy as we try to create cuts that suit every leg, shape, and take the least amount of work to manufacture. Hence, details such as pockets, pleats, and our trusty turnups have been heavily simplified or quite simply just dropped. We love tailoring and all these extra details that make your garment feel and look a bit special. So watch the space for more and more different options to create an individual pair of trousers. Or if you've got any suggestions for us, please feel free to email.
So looking a little bit at the history of the turnup, King Edward VII was a bit of a style icon, and his name comes up as the inventor of the turnup. And that was for purely practical reasons, to keep the hem of his trousers out of the mud. He used to simply roll them up, but around the turn of the 20th century, he had this feature incorporated into the tailoring of his trousers, and that's when the trend really began in earnest. In 1941, however, the British government introduced clothes rationing and a utility concept. This was to save wool and make clothes last longer. And that resulted in turnups, broad lapels, and pocket flaps being made illegal, even for the royal family. It was a really unpopular decision, but Sir Hugh Dalton, president of the Board of Trade, made a very strong press statement on the subject. And what he said was that the 2 inches removed from the bottom of a man's shirt and the elimination of double cuffs altogether saved about 4 million square yards of cotton annually and about 1,000 operatives in the cloth manufacturer alone. So it's no wonder it was made illegal. So these days we're no longer bound by austerity, but companies mass producing trousers do tend to go by the same principles because they are obviously trying to produce them more cheaply with less cloth. And that's why you don't often see turnups in your high street stores.
Hello to Lee, who's joined us, and she's saying thank you for making her face masks, and she got hers yesterday. So you're very welcome. We always like to keep you safe, but always in tartan, of course. So on to styling your turnups. Turnups or cuffs are often thought to make your legs appear slightly shorter and therefore are thought to be less flattering. Although we would have to argue that properly made turnups actually give shape to the leg and help the trousers drape properly as they add a bit of weight to the hem. If you're shorter, we'd recommend going for a 1 inch turnup, and for taller gentlemen, we suggest a deeper 2 inch hem. We would advise choosing pleats on the waistband as well as your turnups to give your trousers some body at the top to balance the body that you've added at the hem. And this gives you a nice crease down the front, which helps to shape the trousers and makes it more flattering. Rather than a slim or a tight fit, then give us your thigh, knee, and calf measurements, and we can make your trousers so that they follow the natural taper of your leg, and then you'll have the full effect of a well-made turn-up. So finally, to the length for your turn-up trousers. It's another contentious area and one that can completely change the look. For the traditional effect, your turn-up should sit just on top of your shoelaces, and this is the most flattering way to wear them. However, current fashion would encourage you to wear a slimmer fit turn-up, wear them shorter and with a pair of natty boots or brogues with plenty of detail. And of course, you always need to think about your socks if you're having them slightly cropped, and we always think that statement socks are key, so if you go for something brighter.
And Monja mentioned before about your trouser pleats and the choice of trouser pleats. So you can choose to have your trousers made flat fronted, and these ones here are flat fronted, so you can see there is no pleating on the waistband here, and they just lie smoothly across the front. And your pleats are simply creases or folds of fabric on the front of the trousers, and you can either have one or two on both sides. So the material is just folded and stitched before it's attached into your waistband. Pleated trousers tend to be worn on the waist and have a higher rise, and they will give you a little bit more freedom of movement and feel a bit more comfortable. So your pleats can be forward facing, and that's where the folded fabric will point inward towards the fly of your trousers, or they can be reverse pleats. And Emily's got some pictures there on the screen for you to see. Inward facing pleats are considered a more Italian style. Apologies. Inward pleats are more of a British style, whereas your outward facing pleats are more Italian. And in terms of which is better, the forward facing pleat tends to lie nice and flat, whereas the outward one will stay open and balloon a little. So it really depends very much how you want your trousers to look and how you want them to lie. And you can choose one or two pleats or to have them flat fronted like this one here. And the pleats do add a bit of mass to the front of your trousers and visual impact to the area of the rise, and they do make them more comfortable, especially if you carry a little bit of weight on the abdomen, as lots of us do, because that fabric will expand a little bit when you move around and sit down. I do have a really nice effect where they continue the crease then that runs down the front of the leg as well. So very smart if you're wearing them as dress trousers. It gives them a nice polished look.
Hello to Rebecca, Ione, and Amy for joining us tonight. It's nice to have you here. And to Tara, who's asking belt or braces, which is better? So I always think that's just personal taste, but it can also be it can come down to how you want to wear your trousers as well. Usually for braces, you'd maybe want a higher pair of trousers, whereas a belt, you can wear any level, but most people with a slightly lower rise. But you could also have side adjusters, and these are good if you want to wear braces, but you can also have your side adjusters, and that won't ruin the line of your outfit, whereas a belt can sort of break up the outfit or your pair of trousers like that as well. So Anna's got some side adjusters on those trousers there. You can see those. There you go. So I'll just explain a bit more about side adjusters because they're something that quite often people in the shop have never considered as well when we discuss the options. So these are great for formality or for uninterrupted lines, like I was saying. And some men prefer their trousers with side adjusters for these reasons. They are usually small buckles, one at each hip, attached to a cloth tab or strap that enable you to cinch the waist an inch or so on either side. So they work similarly to a belt in that way. Handy if you do like to eat too much at lunchtime and you can just adjust your trousers like that as well, in or out an inch. A belt also directs the eye to your waistline, so if you have what the Italians call a balconetta there, trousers with side adjusters can de-emphasise your belly. So that's another good reason for maybe doing the braces and the side adjusters rather than a belt. Because the belt acts like a strong dividing line between your top and bottom halves, if you have legs that are short, try side adjusters to create a more continuous flow, elongating your figure. On the other hand, if you have really long legs, trousers with a belt can help balance you out there as well.
And so on to, if you're wearing a belt, obviously you will have belt loops on your trousers. And these are just attached on here to hold your belt in place. And it's traditionally said that trousers with belt loops should always be worn with a belt, because otherwise you look like you forgot to put it on. Actually gives a more casual look, and it's very much down to personal taste. Um, if you do want to wear your trousers with a kilt belt, then don't forget to let us know, because what we can do is we can make these loops much deeper, and that will ensure you can fit your kilt belt through.
So if you are like Tara and debating braces or belt, although you can't find them off the rack, our trousers can be tailored with brace buttons on the inside of the waistband. And these trousers tend to be higher in the rise and pleated, as the braces help pull the trousers upward rather than inward, creating a smooth line down the leg and pleats. In terms of design, most trousers are designed to be used with either a belt or braces, but not both. Side adjusters, as we've just discussed, can be tailored on trousers meant to be worn with braces, because they can help adjust the waist width while not bearing the burden of holding one's trousers up entirely.
And then onto the pockets. So you, as standard, we will give you one. See this, I'll bring it a little closer. We tend to make our trousers with one pocket on the back, with a welted pocket and a little button. You can of course request two if you want, if you prefer to have two, but that style of pocket gives you a nice clean clear seat. Different pocket styles are available. If you want a more casual look, then if you can have a flapped or a patch pocket. But to give you, but for a more formal trouser, we would always suggest the welted style with the button. To be honest, the pockets are fairly useless in that you can't put too much in them, although that doesn't always deter people, but you can't really put too much in them because they're then not very comfortable when you sit down. In terms of front pockets, we would always have just the two side pockets, and we tend to make those on a slant. Again, if you want a different style, you can just ask for it. But they're nice and easy for you to get your hands in and out. We do always laugh when people come in to be measured for their trousers, and they empty out. We ask them to empty out their pockets just so that they're not adding an extra few inches to their hips. And normally their entire life contents is laid out onto the table.
So on to the lining for your trousers. We line our trousers as standard to the knee at the front of the leg. Although if you are ordering a heavier weight of trouser in a 13 or a 16-ounce cloth compared to our standard 10-ounce, then the fabric isn't as soft and you might want to have a fully lined leg. The beauty of custom is that you can have whatever you want. And with my trousers, I chose to have a very bright yellow lining as I love a bit of colour and something a bit different.
Something we're always asked is what's the difference between trews and trousers? And the main difference is that trews comes from the Gaelic tribuus. Apologies again for my pronunciation, same as last week, not very good. But the trews are designed for evening wear in place of a kilt, and the style is military. And Argyle trews have a high 3-inch waist, 7.6 centimetres if you're metric, a 3-inch waistband with a 3-inch wide belt loops for your kilt belt. And the Trews offer a really nice alternative, really smart alternative to the kilt. And you would normally wear those with a short jacket like a Prince Charlie. You can wear a kilt belt with them, but if you want to wear a waistcoat or a vest, if you're one of our friends in North America, then you can get rid of, you don't need to wear a belt then with a waistcoat. Shoes tend to be tighter traditionally in the leg than trousers, and but nowadays, to be honest, it's a lot about individual taste, and you can have them tailored however you like. And because they sit higher on the waist than normal trousers, they are usually worn with braces or suspenders, and the back is a fishtail shape. And I have a pair here just to show you the shaping on the back of those. There's that fishtail shape. And you can wear them just with ordinary, or Emily's got a picture there for you as well. You can wear them with ordinary dress shoes or boots, or you can wear them with conventional brogues, just your preference. They do make a really useful addition to your Highland outfit. And so if you've got a few different evening functions to attend, then it means you can swap around your outfits, because we don't want you being seen in the same outfit on two consecutive nights, do we? So tartan trousers can be worn, trousers as opposed to trews, they can be worn with a variety of informal and semi-formal Highland outfits. Wear them as you wish, or just as a pair of suit trousers for any occasion.
And so, a bit of history of the Trews. With the Highland winters being so harsh and unforgiving, it was important for Highlanders to stay as warm as possible. And this is where the Trews originate from, as their kilts didn't cover them below the knee, so it was a new solution that was desperately needed. The tartan fabric was traditionally cut on the bias to allow the fabric to stretch around the leg, and this gave the trews a unique look, giving the tartan a diamond design rather than the straight across like on our trousers there. Tartan trews were also so identifiably Scottish that they were included in the infamous Dress Act in 1746. And there's actually a Highland dance named Sean Trews in Gaelic, which means old trousers. And it's called this because the Scottish wanted a way of celebrating getting the Scottish culture back from the British after the Dress Act in 1746. And the dance involves a lot of kicking and sweeping movements of the legs, which some people said gave the appearance of the dancer trying to shake off their trews.
We won't give you a demonstration, I don't think. Not the same. So we've talked lots about your trews, and obviously when we're measuring, we can give you a hand if you need some help. We're offering virtual appointments, so we can talk you through via video just now when you're not able to visit the shop. So we can talk you through how to do those, and there's also lots of guides online. Basically what we look for is a waist, a seat measurement, and then we look for things like the hem width, inside leg, outside leg, and how you want to wear those. In terms of men and women, then yes, there's lots of differences in terms of shape, and take the waist at a slightly different place, take the measurements at a slightly different place. But basically, we need all the same measurements for ladies' trousers, and you've got all the same options in terms of pockets and shape and turnups and all the rest. So there's equality there between the sexes. I think that brings us to the end of our talk through the different options for trousers. So I think we've got some questions coming up, have we, Monja?
We do, yes. So our first one is, we have a gentleman going to a black tie event, and he's wondering if it's possible to have the formal satin striped on the outside of our tartan trousers.
Yes, definitely. That's no problem at all. You can request that and we can add that in. And what we usually do, if you're wearing a matching jacket, then you can have the satin lapel and the satin covered buttons, satin pocket flaps, and then we would use the same navy blue or black satin to run the stripe down your trousers as well. So yes, that can certainly be done.
And Roger in Germany is asking that if he wanted a skinnier, slim pair of wool trousers, would wool be the best option, or does he risk the knees going out of shape in the trousers if they're too slim?
The knees won't go out of shape, Roger. No, it's the fabric that we use is a really good quality tight knit wool. So no, you won't get that kind of misshaping. But we would. That is where you do have to recognise that this is a wool trouser and not a kind of stretch trouser. So make sure that we would make sure we add in a little bit of knees so they're not so tight that you can't sit down or that you're going to stretch them when you do sit down. So that's where we would just look for some additional measurements around on your legs, and we'll make sure that they fit you perfectly. So they'll be really shapen.
So what about trouser length? Should they go over your shoes or should they sit above your shoes? What's sort of the tradition there? I think when we're measuring, if you want a standard pair of trousers, just sort of a traditional length, then we always say that, or I always measure in shop or when we're staying on a virtual appointment, to measure your inside and outside leg right down to the floor and then take off 1 inch. And then that should sit just at the correct place at your shoe. But then, of course, if you just want more of a modern twist and you'd like them slightly cropped, then we can do that as well. That's all just part of our measuring discussion on exactly where you would prefer them to sit. We have also been asked, what tartans do we have on show there on our mannequins?
Okay, so this is the Musselburgh tartan, the blue one here. And the one I'm wearing is the Stuart Black. And this one here is the Patriot Weathered. My colleague's saying ancient, sorry, got it wrong. Patriot Ancient on there. So the Patriot Ancient, nice about that is it's not linked to a particular clan. That's a more modern tartan, so it can be worn by anyone. Stuart one I'm wearing is obviously part of the Stuart clan, but again, that's a clan that anyone can, it's the royal tartan and anyone can wear it. And the Musselburgh one here is a district tartan, so it's Musselburgh is just right here in East Lothian, just outside Edinburgh, and that's the district tartan for that region. Just going back to length, Monja, there was I had an inquiry this morning just on live chat, which is maybe of interest to people. If you're looking for this customer was looking for a West Point hem, which is the military hem on the trousers. So if you're wearing boots and the military like their trousers to hang very straight, no creases. So you have to get the inside leg measurement absolutely perfect. But the West Point hem is then cut on an angle, so it's an angled hem to make sure it lies beautifully smoothly over the boots. And what we would recommend then, if you're doing the inside leg and outside leg measurements, is if you come into the shop, then bring your boots with you if you can, or your shoes. Or likewise, if you're measuring at home, put your boots on, and it makes measuring that and getting that length out much easier.
It's always in the shop, if somebody's brought their shoes, it's so much easier because we can quite often just pin the trousers to exactly where you want them, and then you can see exactly the right length, and then we can just measure the trousers, and that way you know they're definitely going to fit your pair of shoes properly. I think those are all of our questions. Yeah, no more questions this week.
No more questions. We've answered everything. Good. Well, if you think of anything else, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And we do always love to see pictures of you all. If you're wearing your tartan trousers or your tartan trews, then send us pictures. We do love to see you all dressed up. I do love these ones. I have to admit, I stole them off the shop floor this evening, but I think they'll just be going in my bag and going home with me. Very nice. Bit of shop uniform for me. So I think if that's us for this week, then thank you very much for joining us. Next week, it's all about Scottish weddings and traditions. And we've got tonight, I'm celebrating my 20th wedding anniversary. So a bit of a shout out to my husband Neil, who's at home instead of having to take you for romantic. And Monja, maybe one day you'll be getting married, so you can take all these fun things for next week.
Keep note.
So we'll see you next Wednesday, 7 o'clock.